Okay, it is 9:28 a.m. December the 17th, 2021. Just 2 minutes before the market open. It's going to be the same thing as yesterday, just looking for morning panic bounce play setups. I did remove, I think, KYNC because that one started to get a little too cheap. But if it does something super clean, I might consider KYNC for a morning panic bounce play. But for what I have right now, it's going to be ICOA, AXXA, as well as any other OTC that looks super clean on the other watch list. And I'm going to try that new thing that I was talking about yesterday. I think that's going to help me be a lot more profitable, or at least I think the odds are a lot better that I can be a lot more profitable trading morning panic bounce plays. Let's see if we have any setups. If not, that's totally fine. Okay, it is 9:59 a.m. and I want to make an update. I said this was going to happen yesterday. There was going to be probably today a morning panic bounce play setup, and the stock holds a support level and then it makes a spike. It doesn't slightly break it. ICOA, I just don't like this stock. I don't like how it trades. It almost like it knows me and it wants to trade against me. So this one made its move without me, and it does trade kind of nasty with an ugly spread sometimes, but it could be a lot worse. I've seen worse, but at the same time, it wasn't really a nice one to trade anyway. But it did do that nice morning panic bounce play in theory, right? And then it had its spike. I was watching this for a higher low setup. I just don't like the way this one trades. It's kind of throwing me off. And as for ILUS, this is going along what I was talking about. Not the best example, but again, with the new idea on how to trade morning panic bounce plays, or at least what I think I'm going to be doing from now on. Here's the morning panic, right? And then it looks like, okay, it just made this bottom right here, 36.52. Let's see if it holds it. It has a spike towards VWAP, and then it kind of goes back to the level. So far, it's holding it, but I'm not going to be long the setup until potentially if it breaks the support level and it's a level 2 reversal. This one breaks the support level, but it never was a level 2 reversal. It didn't break it and make a new low and then come right back and then eventually uptrend. This one broke the support level and it stayed down, and then you have to rewatch and reanalyze. It downtrends this candle downtrends, it makes a bottom at 35.09. okay, it trades back and forth, and look at that right here, this candle. Some people will cut losses right here because it broke just by a little bit right here. Not me. I will be watching this, and then it breaks it just briefly. It's so quick. It just shows there's a lot of people who are going to support it, right? So again, it broke the previous support level here just by a little bit. You can call this a level 2 reversal, a very baby level 2 reversal, maybe just a dip in the water, and then it comes back, and that's when you can consider being long. And then you would risk it if it were to break that level, because then if it breaks the support level and makes a new one for a second time, then maybe this thing might actually not be so good. And then it makes that move from 35.5 to best case 36.5, which is not good at all. That's like 2.5%. So that's why that wasn't really ideal with ILUS, because of the fact that it just doesn't offer that much range. Although the chart kind of shows the thing that I'm trying to consider doing now with morning panic bounce plays to be more profitable. This one just didn't offer the range, but that's the idea, what I'm going for. If this thing would have done maybe like a downtrend under VWAP but hold this level, like some kind of cup and handle setup perhaps, or just a higher low off of this panic bottom, that might not be so bad. But it's not really, again, something that moves with a lot of range. But I like how this one really exemplifies what I'm trying to consider doing in terms of morning panic bounce plays. Yeah, this one can make another move towards 12 ICOA, but I don't like how it trades. I haven't looked at GRTX, doesn't look impressive to me or nice. JPEX, I just don't like the lack of volume, and it has a spread. 29 by 30. That's pretty impressive. SBES, nothing considerable here. This one doesn't have volume either, and it also has a spread. But this is a sub penny, so It's not as crazy for it to have a spread compared to something like JPEX. So I don't see anything that's really impressive. I'll be looking for other OTCs if there's any that are looking nice or uptrending or something like that. But as for morning panic bounce plays, it's 10 o'clock. I think time's up for that, unless it's not the morning panic, but like the higher low, lower low, or the double bottom. And yeah, that's what I have for right now. I'll make an update later. It's 10:07 a.m. and I want to go over RIVN. I just noticed this from a chat room. I like this. This is such a clean breakdown under 95. This is the type of thing that triggers a lot of stop losses and scares anybody, even if they don't know a single thing about technical analysis. All they need to see is that it started here, it went all the way up here, went down, traded back and forth, and now it breaks where it freaking started, and that's just scary. I want to see this thing maybe make a spike back towards that breakdown level, which is basically 100. Maybe it could be something different. Maybe you can say it's 95, but really I want to see it come back to where it broke under, maybe off of 95, and then fail to like hold above it, or maybe it holds above it but it doesn't stay above it for very long, like a confirmed breakdown where it breaks under the level, the important level, and then it has a downtrend, it gets above it, or maybe gets close to it, or just gets right at it, and then it fails absolutely, and then it downtrends for real. And then that could be something that I might be interested in, because it then not just defeats people who are long this setup, but any dip buyers too. That might be very depressing for them to look at, and that might actually be a cool short setup. And I'm just gonna keep watching it. I'm not trying to be short here near the bottoms under VWAP, but I want to see how it trades, and maybe it can be something I can consider. I do have in mind this thing can try to do inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, and then maybe it tries to make a shoulder. It's still pretty early in the potential pattern. If it happens, I'll be watching that, and I won't trade much. If I do, probably maybe 2 shares max, because I trade with a very small dollar risk level on listed stocks, but this could be something cool to look at. It is 10:23 a.m. and I was wanting some kind of a balance before maybe considering a short with RIVN, so I like the way it played off of this level. I was watching this closely. I wanted it to break it and see how it would react. It broke it, and then it started the hold, and I wanted it to break it again before considering going long again, but what it did was break the high. So then when it broke the highs and then it came back near the bottom, I got in at 93.31. that was 10.22 right here near the bottom, and I'm basically risking the day low. If it breaks the day low, I will be out and I will lose about $4, which is my dollar risk level. If it breaks 92 and there's a lot of slippage as well, I sold 1 share at 93.85. that was at 10.23 right here near the tippy top. Actually, no, not near the very tippy top, but close to the top, just because it had that nice run towards the highs. And now I will only have 2 shares left, so if it breaks the day low, at least I sold 1 share near what could have been the highs, because it got to the lows and I had to cut the trade there. But if it keeps uptrending, then I at least sold 1 share, so I had more patience to hold on this setup longer. VWAP will be the goal, but I don't think it'll touch VWAP. I might be more interested selling if it gets to the 94s. If it can do that, it doesn't have to, and this could be the top, and now it's going to break it to make a new low. But I felt like the odds were there, considering how hard it's trying to hit the bottom, but it just keeps holding itself, and I would want it to do some kind of a nice last shot spike near the highs before maybe considering some kind of a short setup if I take one. It is 10:28, maybe a few minutes after the last recording. I want to record my thoughts. I just got out of RIVN. I would be selling anything else if I had any shares left here, because this is a resistance level potentially, VWAP resistance level. Usually when a stock, of course it doesn't always happen, but when a stock is down so much, right, especially with an ugly daily chart like this, it doesn't get to VWAP. But this one could be the one that squeezes so many shorts it breaks VWAP and gets above it, and maybe even looks like it's going to go green on the day, which in this case it won't very likely do that. But you know, it could break VWAP and maybe be at like 98 or something. I don't honestly know, but I know it can try to break VWAP if it's a really big short squeeze, but considering how ugly the chart looked and how down it is, sometimes they don't even touch VWAP. I would be out completely here into this candle. I didn't necessarily get the very top, which was at 94, 93, very close to 95, which is impressive. I made just $2, I think. Not the best percent gain, but this is a high priced listed stock, so it's not very it's not as easy to make a high percent gain, although it's totally possible. And I sold one more share at 94.03. that was at 10.26 right here. 94.03, this was my sell. Again, just because it looked like it was having a short squeeze, and I sold one more share, and then I sold my last share at 94.20. that was at 10.27. It kind of made a run towards the 920s right here in this candle, and then it kind of went back, and then it came back and I got executed, and then it shot even higher to that 94.74 or this 94.90 level that it got to here. It can absolutely try to hold this level right here and then maybe actually get closer to VWAP or actually break it, because this is what I started to see also with this setup. I saw a shoulder here, I saw a head, and it didn't make a nice spike, sure, this section right here, but you know, it still held the head right here. And you know, given where it is on the chart, there's a potential a short squeeze could be in. You know, anybody short the stock from previously or today, you know, they just see that it isn't able to break the low again, and then they're going to consider covering their shares along with everybody else who just wasn't as patient as them. Because then, you know, you might be super patient on your short position, but if other people start covering and then it has this big squeeze, well, crap, I'm losing profits, I need to cover too. So shoulder, head, shoulder, and just to go over, I was in at 922 right here, 922 at 93.31 right here, and I sold one share at actually, yeah, the next minute, 23, when I had this little baby pop right here, and then I sold at 26 near the top, I believe. Yeah, 94.03 actually right here. And then I sold another share at 94.20 at 10.27. It's actually right at VWAP. Let's see how it reacts. VWAP is 95.16. I would be surprised if it's gonna break it because it's down a lot, but there could also be just so many shorts who are covering, and I'm sure a lot of, if there's any algorithms trading this, they're gonna, a lot of them trade off of VWAP as well. Even a little blip like this could make it squeeze because it triggers their you know, their things. But that actually wasn't kind of strong. Maybe I'll try again. Yeah, it's struggling, but it can do it. Yeah, my best sell was at 94.20, which, you know, my goal was to sell in the 94s. I didn't think it would, you know, get above VWAP or touch it, but at least it touched it if it doesn't do much more than that. But this can be a nice massive squeeze, you know, just because this thing is probably shortable in many places. It's shortable here in Schwab, so it would lead me to believe that there is a lot of opportunity for a squeeze if it's so shortable that it's where it is right now and there's still shares available to short. That wasn't really a good attempt, but I can try to do it. And I was trading with a $4 risk level, so I was in at 93.31, right? So in theory, right when I was in it at 10.22, right here, 10.22, near the bottom, 93.31, I thought, all right, if it breaks this day low right here, 92.65, which I didn't think it was very likely, but you know, if it breaks it, then obviously the pattern I'm interested in is dead. I get out, but maybe there's slippage because it just broke this low and everybody's freaking out, right? So I am now absolutely out, worst case at 92. So 92, right, 276, and then 93.31, that's 279.93. I'm 7 pennies from trading a $4 risk level. And maybe you think that's a bit excessive. I doubt there would be so much slippage that you don't get out until 92 flat. Maybe, sure, maybe 92.50 could have been a possibility, right? So 277.50, and then I'm in at 93.31. So then maybe I should have been 5 shares in, or maybe 4 shares in, and that would bring it closer to a more realistic dollar risk level. You know, not thinking that it's going to break 92 and then, you know, 65 and I get out at, you know, just at the very bottom of that dollar level, but maybe somewhere in the middle. But I like trading it like that. That's a nice squeeze. All the algorithms, all the people who are short this, either profitably or unprofitably, they're freaking out because VWAP just freaking broke and now they're crying. I'm still interested in the short setup, but I obviously want to see something clean, like a lower high or something like that. So I'm not going to just short it here because this thing can keep going. I want to see it make a high and then downtrend and maybe put up a lower high or something like that. And if I don't short, that's fine, but at least I went long, seeing that pattern, trying to trade both sides of the pattern. But I will make an update later. This is pretty cool. I wasn't expecting to trade a listed stock today, but I did, and I don't regret it. Even if it were to have broken it, I felt like that was a pretty good setup. It is 10:54 and I want to make an update. This is so impressive. I was definitely on the right track and I profited from it, but you know, this thing really worked out. Now it's at the 98 level. If I were to have considered it, I would be interested in maybe a short here and then maybe off of 99. I would probably put my risk level if it were to break $100.50, but I don't know, I'll be honest, I just feel kind of scared now considering a long setup. This could be the head of a head and shoulders too, shoulder, head, and then it breaks the level, which I mean it's doing right now, and then it makes a shoulder. But I just don't like how there's going to be support here, maybe support here because it plays off of here as well. Then there's going to be support at the bottom range right here. VWAP is going to be support as well. Then we just have all these support levels. And I mean, maybe this is when realization comes in. All the shorts got squeezed that were, you know, I guess less strong or whatever you want to call it. Maybe dumb for not covering and then maybe reshorting later. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's doing it now. I'll be honest, I was just too scared to consider shorting it, even though it got to this level right here and it could have played, you know, off of any of these levels and been a resistance level. That's a pretty nice rejection right here. I mean, it's down so far $1 from where it was trading here, but this was a pretty nice move, at least towards the upside. I did not capture the full potential of it, but I did get a piece of the move and I learned a lot from it. This is pretty cool. Yeah, maybe if it makes a clean head and shoulders, but I don't like all the support levels. It's not the same as if as my long setup here, where sure this could have been resistance levels, but you have to take into consideration that short squeeze just makes things kind of crazy. This is a pretty nice downtrend. I was just too scared to be short this thing. If I was short, I guess we'll just pretend, not pretend, but just do like an idea of what would have been like 98, right, when hindsight is 20/20. Let's just say 98.77, and then I'd cover if it were to get to $100.50 if it breaks it. So worst case, I get out at $101. So that's $3.95. That would be too much. That would be $9, so I would have to trade. I would be short just 2 shares at 98.77. That makes it 197.5, and then I cover at, what was it? I think 101, right? Because it breaks 150. So yeah, 101, 197.5. Yeah, that would bring that just around $5, which is close to my $4 risk goal. So I would have been short 2 shares at 98.77, and then right now I would be up $3. That's pretty cool. and this thing has a lot of room towards the downside, but I'm just, I was just kind of scared of it. I didn't like all the resistance levels it now has, so I'll make an update to see what this one does later on in the day. I think I will not trade anything else. I'm pretty happy with the trade I took with RIVN. And yeah, I'll see what this thing continues to do, and I'll provide an update. It is 11:47, and this is going to be another recap just to see what this thing is doing. And ultimately, I think this will be the last recording before the market closes, and then I'll make a final update there. I really like how this one traded according to my short setup idea, even though I didn't take it because I was too scared and I was too greedy. I didn't want to lose the money I just made going long the setup, and then I go short and then it doesn't work and I lose money. Then I'm pissed, right? Because I had such a nice setup going long here, then I shorted, right, because of all these things, and it just happened to not work out, and now I am down. So I didn't want that. I was too greedy, and that's what happens when you're too greedy. You end up actually missing out or losing money. So great lesson there, and I'll just keep having to learn this lesson enough times that eventually I'll just take the trade either way, because I'd rather take the setup and lose money and be red on the day than to not take the setup, miss out on some nice profit, and then be even more salty. So I think it's just something I'm gonna have to get over with eventually over time as more setups show up, and I keep seeing myself right on multiple setups. Obviously this one could have not have worked out as nice as it is right here. Then I'd be like, well, hey, I didn't trade it, but I should have, because the odds were there. Super nice again that it spiked. I wasn't trying to be that crazy guy shorting under VWAP around here, right? It had that nice spike, and this one could have been a short entry because it was playing off of the highs, all of these resistance levels, and it did offer a nice opportunity there, even if it were to have gone just a little bit higher, although I think I would have covered if it were to have broken this $100.50 level for sure, because then at that point then it looks like it might do something else, and the pattern is not as solid. It might break it, or it might already be broken at that point. But this was a nice short here, and then I like how I went all the way to this level here, which was playing off of here, and I think I said on the last recording I might have been considering covering one share here, which would have been possible. I like how it got to VWAP and then it held VWAP, so this would have been another long setup, a little more degenerate, but it was a nice move from 95.70 to 97.80ish, so about $2. And after it had that nice spike there, it tried one more time. This might have scared me out, and I might have considered covering in here, just because of the fact that it held VWAP for a second time, and it's also just slightly higher than this bottom right here. But it offered just a tiny bounce. It was obviously weak for all the other reasons why this thing is where it is right here, offering a great short setup and all of that. And then just a tiny bounce, then it officially breaks it, tries to hold this level right here. It's playing off of all of the resistance levels I was thinking about, and then it has an even smaller spike, right, which is super nice price action. It would have been easy to hold through this, because I could have thought the idea that maybe it breaks VWAP, spikes, gets right at VWAP, maybe slightly above it, and then it rejects it completely. It just did a baby spike, so that shows how weak it is. And now it's in the 93s. Can it break the day low? Can it break this level? Sure, it absolutely can. It might be bouncing now, but it could try again later and break it officially, and then play off of this one, or maybe hit two birds with one stone. But at that point, I would probably have been out the setup. If I had any shares left, I probably would be covering here, even if it makes a tiny bounce and breaks it. Later, just the less time you're in a trade, I think in this case, the less risk you're playing with, that it can make a follow-up squeeze. Although I don't think it will be as strong as this, but anything can happen. And that's what I have in mind in terms of this setup. I hope it makes sense to any of you guys watching this, and maybe you can learn from it. Maybe you can find a better way to trade it, or a worse way that you would have traded, and learn from that, I guess, like a mental trade. But yeah, I was just too scared, I could be better and not be so scared, but I will make one last update before the chart looks all squished together, when the markets are closed, right here, and then yeah, I will make that update once it's played out and see what it does eventually. And obviously this could be something to be short for more than one day, maybe something longer, but I don't do that. I like day trading. So yeah, well, this is the last update before the last one. That didn't make much sense, I think, but I will make another recording later. It is 4:15 and I am here to call it off. Overall, I was not able to get any morning panic bounce play setups. This one did not break the support level, and it kind of looked weird here for the higher low. I never traded that. I did notice this later after it already happened, that maybe it could have been like a double bottom setup, but this thing doesn't trade with much volume. It's a bit sketchy, but hey, it did offer a move there, which isn't bad. GRTX, nothing that I was really interested in. ILUS did do that, I guess, morning panic bounce play, but this one doesn't offer much, much percent range, so I never traded it. SPES is down. I'm probably going to remove this one. I think I said that, but I didn't do it. I'm going to definitely do it. It's just not trading with much volume, and it doesn't look like, it's going to run for more than just that day that it initially did. As for RIVN, this was the setup here where I was long, and I really underestimated how successful and how much of a squeeze this setup was, and I guess it makes sense considering where it was. And look at the volume, that's pretty impressive too. Super awesome setup, a lot of potential, and I like it. Even though I just made like $2 off of that setup, it's something I can trade easily with like 30 shares or 300 shares or 3,000 shares, and that would have made it super profitable too. And of course, that was according to where I sold right here. It had a lot of move towards the upside, and it did actually do like a little baby bounce, and then it failed, but then it actually started to squeeze back. So I was pretty right on, if I were to have been short, to have been out completely by this point, because it did offer a nice squeeze. It's just not really good to be just so greedy on a short setup that you actually end up losing money. I've had that before, I think with ILUS, when I shorted it maybe a month ago by now. That was a great learning experience. And yeah, this was an inverse head and shoulders too. I didn't notice it. Maybe if I saw it, I might have considered trading it, but here was the shoulder, the head, and then here a shoulder. It could have been another setup too, and this was a follow-up thing from 94 to 95 or 96, or just making like a consistent trend line, and then it would have been a sell maybe at 97. And maybe that's something I can do when it comes to something crazy like this, is just throw a trend line, right, and maybe try to sell when that thing breaks. But no, I'm happy with the way I traded it, considered it. Best case scenario, if I was an expert, I would have been shorting this, maybe here the bounce, and then I probably would have maybe considered covering and maybe buying, and then buying more for the inverse head and shoulders, and then the short here for sure, and then I would have bought the inverse head and shoulders and the cover there, and probably a nice sell into the close. I don't know. I still have a long way to go clearly, but I'm really happy with that trade here. That's all I have for today, and that's all I have for this week. I'm going to do a weekly recap. I didn't really necessarily make much this week. In fact, I think I lost just a little, but I think I learned a lot. And all I need is a good morning panic bounce play setup that works, and it just wipes out all of the little tiny paper cuts that I've done previously and adjustments that I've made. It's not like the setups aren't working. It just wasn't, I think, approaching it correctly. That's all I have for today.